Hey folks, welcome to a video from me on how to make your webcam meetings more engaging, more professional, be able to give yourself a better image in front of the people you're meeting with. And this goes whether you're on a Zoom call, in the grid, GoToMeeting, anything that has you on camera. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about etiquette, some things you should do, some things you should not, definitely not do. And if you're guilty of them, you know who you are. So let's talk about setup. Right now, you're looking at a typical setup that most of us are dealing with, whether it be a room, a spare room, an office at home. I am actually doing this video. This is actually take number 5 for me. I've been working different venues basically. I've been trying this outside, and I've had all kinds of noise across the microphone with breezes and outdoor chirping with the birds and whatnot. It has not been working out very well. I've tried this in my basement office. It's too dark down there. So this is now a spare room where it's quiet. People who normally are in the house are out of the house. So I'm enjoying that luxury of a blank slate all over again. So in advance of any time you're on a camera, whether it be a live session or a recorded one like this one, be aware of what is around you. All right. Lighting is very important. If you have any major windows that are light sources, even on a cloudy day, the sun does not have to be beaming through them. If it's in back of you, the light will put a silhouette where your face should be. Right now, I have a double window opposite me, and the light is coming in. It's a cloudy day, so there may be a little haze around here, but it's not going to blow out the image around my face. So be aware, and that goes with anything, whether it be a lamp, overhead lighting, even computer monitors. I turned this one off so that there would be none of that blue haze coming out and blowing that out. And also on a note about blue light from laptops, if you're going to be sitting with a laptop in front of you, laptops tend to be lower. We tend to slant them backwards, and the camera looks where? The camera looks right up in here and over here. So those of you who have more than one chin or don't want to see the nasal cavity on screen, bring the camera up a little bit. It can be eye level, just below, or a little bit higher, depending upon what makes you comfortable and where you're sitting and what might be going on around you. Make sure that the camera is stable. Right now I have this thing on a little tripod. I just discovered my son has a larger, longer-legged tripod, which I didn't know, and guess where that's now being confiscated. So you can get little tripods like this for cell phone cameras. They're readily available at almost any, Amazon, eBay type situation. They're not expensive. They're great, and they do a lot to help keep the camera steady. I can't stand when I see movement and people are holding their camera or holding the laptop or the iPad, whatever the device is, and it's mobile. There's a time for mobile and there's a time for not mobile. And a web meeting, like a webcam type meeting or presentation, is not the time to be shaking the camera. Gets into a little etiquette. Don't walk around. Please do not walk around. I don't need to see a tour of your house. I don't need to see constant motion in back of you. I don't really like to see a lot of this going on because, in all honesty, you really wouldn't do that in a real face-to-face session. You probably would not constantly move around and fidget and move from room to room, leave the room, come back to the room. If you did, it would be considered rude and unprofessional in that setting. So guess what? It is the same communication that's going out from you, whether you realize it or not. So just a little more awareness with camera stability and movement. And please don't multitask. If you're going to be on a Zoom type call, even if you are a meeting attendee and somebody else is doing the presentation or the talking or leading the meeting, the worst thing that you can do is pick up your cell phone and do this. And I know you're doing it. I've caught people doing it. You can tell they're doing this, and the light comes up from the device, and all of a sudden there's a little blue light, and they're doing this, and it's rude. You would, again, if you're doing it during a meeting with people in a real live setting, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. So why would you be doing it now? So remember that. As far as setup, arrive early. Arrive early. Get to a conference call, webcam call, 5 to 10 minutes in advance. Advance, meaning before. This drives me nuts. And it's funny because it's the same people that show up to meetings, live meetings, face to face, late anyway. So let's get in the habit of, if it's a 2 o'clock session, set your alarm, get on there at 1:45, set up everything in advance. If you're going to be positioning the camera, do it before that thing goes live, because the last thing you want is to have somebody come into a meeting and start disrupting the meeting by doing this kind of stuff, and they're trying to fumble for the pictures and the controls, and everybody else has been in the session, they're ready to go, they're taking notes, they're already in that posture, and they've arrived. So think with that. It's distractive, it's disruptive, and that's just the visual side of it. Think of it acoustically. You're on an open microphone, unless there's a mute setting in place. This is a pet peeve of mine that's not quite the worst one. We'll get to that one in a minute. One of the top three, in my viewpoint, is the acoustics. I can't stand open microphone meetings because too many people talking at once, and then you have that god-awful overlap. So you have the question being asked, then you have somebody else jumping in over that communication, and then somebody else jumping in on that, and then all of a sudden everybody goes silent because they're now trying to be polite because they realize that they've done that, and it's just everything goes off the rails. So slow your communication down verbally. Let it flow out. Let it be received. Wait 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, whatever you got to do. Let that communication go out there. Let it be duplicated, meaning understood, and then let it come back to you. There are times when it may seem really awkwardly silent and long. Don't let that be a reason to continue to speak. So think with that. Acoustics are really, really being challenged with a lot of the line compression and decompression and back and forth, and then you got multiple players involved, so it becomes a bit of a bear. So live with it, get used to it, drill it if you have to. Bumbling into a conference call late is terrible. There's a meeting agenda, so if you're in control of that meeting, you really got to rein in the acoustics. If you're going to be doing a meeting with more than one person, several people, set the agenda in advance. Put it out there in advance. Let people know you're going to cover these 6 bullets in the next 45 minutes, hour, whatever it happens to be. Remind them that this is the meeting agenda. Hold the Q&A till after you're done, because interruptions are meeting killers, especially those who love to stumble in on a meeting late. And after all of the small talk about what we did over the weekend and how long the lines were at the food store and whatever else is going on or with them, there's been a momentum killed at that point when people jump in and start fumbling in around the communication. So that's it on arriving early. That's it on setup. That's it on lighting. Here comes my ultimate favorite pet peeve, and I hope that this rings out and indicates and really strikes home. It's one that is really hard to overcome. Technologically speaking, you can do it in a flash. And I'm talking about, you ready? Eating. Don't eat on camera. Got it? It doesn't look attractive. It's unprofessional. If you are in a staff meeting and it's an agreed upon session where we're all going to work through lunch and we're all going to talk while we're, chewing away on our coleslaw and burritos and God knows what else. I've seen it too many times where you're on that Brady Bunch grid and you're watching all of these nice floating faces and they're listening and they're talking and doing whatever that they need to do for the meeting. And all of a sudden in the bottom right-hand corner or the middle screen, wherever it happens to be placed, You got somebody sitting there and they're eating, leaning over, getting their food, wiping their mouth, sipping their big gulp from 7-Eleven, wherever. And it just doesn't look good, people. It really doesn't. It communicates also that you're really not fully attending, meaning you have your attention on the meeting, that you've got some attention on your your lunch, your dinner, your breakfast, whatever you happen to be chowing down on. If you wouldn't do it in a conference call, live, face to face, then don't do it on camera. Okay. Plus, when you have a lot of people with the angle of the laptop or the camera being what they tend to be, it tends to look worse because now all of a sudden it's closer and I'm watching the chewing. Again, this is meant to be a business setting. It's meant to be an effective communication tool. So eating is something that really ought to be left off camera. Okay, unless you're responsible for product placement, and this is you're getting dollars or revenue or income from a Sprite can somewhere in the, but I don't think that's the case. So let's keep the eating offline, out of the frame. I don't want to see it in the frame. So that's another point going back to set up in advance. Look around. If there's something in the frame that doesn't belong, that you don't want people to see, whether it be a poster in back of you, something on the shelf, something on your screen that could pop up in a screensaver mode, or something on the internet that we really don't want people looking at, get it off. Get it off the frame. Don't be setting that up while you're trying to get the meeting going. So those are some sincere, hopefully helpful tips. I know this is technology that many people are not familiar with. We've never had to use it this much. And there's been some new, things that we've had to do in terms of, the face-to-face. But these are the things that I'm seeing them a lot, and they need to kind of be reined in a little bit, So think with it. If I can help you with any other coaching, I do this for a living, guys. I've done webinars, I've done presentations, I've done many face-to-face, podium type environments. So if you want some assistance, I am more than happy to run you through some things. We do webinars at Prosperity Plus many times throughout the years. So this is not new territory for me. So let's chat if you want to. I will put the scroller up there so you can see the contact information. And maybe as a bonus bit, I'd also like to put in there's a funny video on YouTube that kind of addresses the bumbling, interruptive type communication I was talking about earlier. I will put the reference to that up on this screen here too. So enjoy your new opportunities to be using the camera. We will get through this, and we will continue to do all of these wonderful meetings face to face and get even more and more proficient at it as time goes by, and be really good communicators, and continue to have people see our wonderful faces and know that we're still viable, that we're still relevant, and that we are still in business, ready to service. So that's it for the preaching. Go out there, get producing, get more revenue. Let's get through this whole nasty COVID-19 thing and get back to what we do best, communicating. All right? Talk to you soon.